The air in the substation hums thick with ozone and the faint ghost of nicotine, old circuits breathing their last. Dust motes dance in the weak glow from a single neon tube, the color of a fresh wound, as the war surplus transmitter begins its stubborn thrum. The smell of hot vinyl and cold coffee hangs heavy.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
In Spitalfields, we're reading 58 degrees Fahrenheit with overcast. Airflow is southwest at about 13 miles per hour.
Polt's public skepticism of the intelligence community and his endorsements of election fraud claims directly jeopardize the bipartisan consensus required to reauthorize Section 702 of FISA before its April 19th expiration. This exposes the integrity of intelligence operations and the public's trust, impacting potentially hundreds of thousands of surveillance targets annually. A viable alternative path involves Congress passing a short-term extension of Section 702, then initiating an independent public audit of past surveillance abuses to inform future policy, rather than forcing through a confirmation or full reauthorization. Our next move is to demand Congress leverage the Polte nomination to secure immediate, concrete reforms to FISA, prior to any vote on his confirmation or the bill's extension.
This situation reflects a deeper current, the persistent tension between executive authority and legislative checks, often masked by national security claims. It's like a digital panopticon, where the very architecture of surveillance is being redesigned without public consent. This pattern demands sharp discernment. The trade-off is clear. Either we reinforce structures of consent around data, or we drift toward unchecked power, a legacy that will define civic trust for generations.
Static lifts for half a breath. The line is live. Our lines are open. You're on the air, pattern auditor. Patching in a caller. You're on the signal.
So if this nomination goes through, who actually pays the price for this shift in surveillance oversight? Is it just abstract ideals, or are there tangible costs for everyday citizens?
From that dossier to this one, South Korea, China agree first expansion in flight. That's the core question, isn't it? The cost of compromised trust is immeasurable. Thank you, pattern auditor. Speaking of vectors, Togee, let's pivot from the unseen currents of surveillance to the visible flows between nations. South Korea and China have agreed to their first flight rights expansion in 7 years, moving beyond mere tarmac and flight paths.
This agreement allows an additional 120 flights per week, specifically targeting high-demand routes like Incheon-Shanghai and Incheon-Guangzhou, which operated at full capacity for 7 years. South Korean tourism and logistics companies anticipate significant revenue boosts, potentially adding billions to their GDP, while smaller regional airlines could face increased competition. A viable alternative path involves creating dedicated cargo-only flight corridors first, easing supply chain pressures without immediately overwhelming passenger infrastructure. Our next move is to tie new flight allocations directly to specific infrastructure upgrades at regional airports, ensuring local communities benefit and consent to increased traffic.
Togee, this isn't just about moving bodies and goods, it's about forming new connective tissue between nations. Think of it like weaving a new vital pattern into an ancient tapestry. This expanded flow carries the potential for genuine cultural exchange, or conversely, for deeper economic dependencies without informed consent. The structural intent must prioritize mutual benefit, otherwise we're just creating new threads of exploitation.
Our lines are open for your insights. Pattern auditor, you're on the signal.
Cool down is when habits set. Swap the tiresome combo for a clean two-step people want to repeat.
We've got someone.
This sounds great for business, but what about the environmental cost? More flights mean more emissions. Who pays for that?
Same dossier, new angle. Keep the thread tight.
This horrific incident in Puglia, a southern Italian agricultural hub, reportedly involved 4 sub-Saharan African migrant workers, likely living in makeshift settlements and earning as little as 3 to 4 euros per hour. This exposes the systemic vulnerability of Italy's estimated 400,000 migrant agricultural workers to exploitation and violence, and directly challenges Italy's human rights commitments. A viable alternative path involves immediate government investment in dignified, safe housing for seasonal workers, coupled with strict enforcement of labor laws to dismantle the caporalato system. Our next move is to demand the Italian government establish a national registry of agricultural workers with enforced minimum wage and housing standards, backed by robust legal aid.
Togee, this isn't merely an isolated crime. It's a structural failure, a fiery brand burned onto the conscience of a continent that frequently speaks of human rights while ignoring its most vulnerable. It evokes the ghost of historical injustices, where certain lives are deemed disposable for economic gain, echoing patterns of exploitation passed down through generations. This is a call to build civic architectures that unequivocally favor consent, provenance, and dignity for every individual.
What about the local communities? Do these attacks stem from resentment, or is it pure criminality? Who ultimately pays for this systemic disregard for human life?
That's the core question, isn't it? The cost is paid in lives, in dignity, and in the erosion of our collective humanity. We must use myth, humor, and clear analysis to turn this confusion into actionable vectors, always building resilient architectures of consent. Thank you for tuning in to Black Star Pirate Radio.
Prototype the fix.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.